Hello, my name is Scott Fromey and welcome to the Backwoodsman Institute. Today what I'm going to be talking about is the different loads that I use in my trade gun, which in my case is a fusil de chase. There's many different kinds of trade guns out there. Actually not necessarily just trade guns alone, but also military type of muskets. The difference between the trade guns and military muskets versus black powder shotguns is a black powder shotgun is just basically designed to shoot shot only. But with the trade gun and the military muskets, you can use shot or ball. So let me go over with you a little bit on the different loads that I put in this gun. On this table here, I pretty well got all the basic items that I'm going to be using, or different variations for me to shoot either solid, lead ball or shot. As far as powder goes, I use double F black powder. Now you can use, I'd say triple F maybe, but since a double F is made for like 50 caliber and larger, 2F is plenty, and that's what works in here, and that's what I suggest trying. You could play around with 3F if you want to, but 2F is a black powder. That's pretty well the most common size of it. Another item that I use, this one is I carry enough powder in here to prime the pan. Now they say that when I first started out with flintlock, I was told that you needed a lighter, like a finer grain powder to prime the pan with, like say 4F, 7F, something like that. But I've done some experimenting and I found out that you don't need any different powder than what you're shooting in the barrel. 2F works just fine for the priming the pan. Two different types of measures that you're going to be using. Mostly this is a powder measure. It's kind of like what you'd be using for shooting just a round ball. Mostly those guys that have rifles have some type of powder measure. This one goes from 0 to 120 grains. So if you're working up a load for a round ball, this is probably what you're going to be shooting with here till you get your load established for that. This here is a shot measure. When you're shooting shotgun, this is just a cheap plastic one I've had for years. It just works great. It's basically designed for 20 gauge. It means it starts at 7/8 of an ounce all the way up to 1 5/8 ounces. Pull on out. For 20 gauge, you're probably hardly ever going to shoot more than maybe 1 1/4 ounces, just depending on actually what you really want to shoot. So for small game, you're shooting light. For bigger game and turkey, you might go up a little bit further. But when you're shooting shotgun, I measure the powder and the shot with this thing. If I'm shooting just a ball, I'm measuring off with just the grains of powder, and then I'm writing down what grains of powder, what load shoots better. As far as the actual shot or the ball, it's a regular. This one that I'm shooting is a 5.95 caliber ball, and it's just you just can't find that ball just anywhere. So I had to buy a mold, and I mold my own lead balls because, like I said, most stores, unless you pre-order from like Dixie Gun Works or somewhere like that that's used to handling trade gun items or that, you probably won't. 54 caliber, 45s is your most common type of ball. But so I would suggest if you're going to get a trade gun, that get some type of mold and make your own lead balls. As far as shot goes, I just got a regular old bullet bag that I carry my shot in my pouch. What I use is number 6. Number 6 to me is probably the most common size, or the most common used, what I use, whether it be rabbit, squirrel, dove, or whatever. That's what I use as 6s. So I use 6s on turkey, squirrel, rabbits, dove, whatever. That's pretty common, or a pretty versatile size BB. is a size number 6. So that's usually what I buy, is just 6s. Like I said, the ball, just like a regular rifle, muzzling rifle, I use a patch, pillow ticking for patches. I also got a load block here that I got several different loads already in there, or a paper cartridge. I might show you a little bit later about making a paper cartridge, and might even actually show how to shoot one of these with it later. As far as lubricant goes on the patch, I use the boar butter, Thompson Center boar butter. I just like the all natural. Anything that's all natural is what I'm going to be using inside there. Nothing petroleum based, whether it's be cleaner or anything like that. I stick with an all natural type of thing, and for some reason that helps season the bore a little better. Makes everything go pretty smooth as far as multiple shots go. As far as wads go, there's basically cards. This one is a little thicker card than this one, because this one is an over the powder wad, and this is over the shot wad. They also got a little cushion, like a fiber wad, that kind of goes in there. It kind of cushions the load so that you're not distorting or keeping the BBs from getting out of shape when the blast goes off. Let me try and show you a little up close about these cards. This card here is the one that goes over the powder, so it's called an over the powder, and this one goes over the shot, so it's an over the shot card. What I'm going to be loading now is a load with number 6 lead shot, and that's what I use for all my small game, like rabbits and squirrels. I also use it for the different upland birds like quail, dove, woodcock, and I use number 6 lead for crows. So with that, show you it. I'm going to start out with my shot measure, and I'm going to go ahead and load up 7/8, use a 7/8 measurement. You start out with equal amount at first, with equal amount powder and shot. But I found out that, that's usually the rule of thumb, but I like to go just a little bit heavier with the shot. So I'll start out with a 7/8 ounce measurement of powder, but then I'll increase it up to maybe an ounce of shot. It kind of works a little better in this firearm. So I'll start out with the measurement of 7/8 ounce. Pour that down the barrel, give it a little tap, seat it down, level it off. Then where I carry my different wads is, well, I got snuff cans. Kind of works pretty good in my pouch here. So I got one carries the over the powder wad and an overshot wad, and then in another one I carry is the fiber wad, the cushion wad. And the reason I keep that separate is I put a little bit of the I use number 13 Thompson Center bore cleaner, and it kind of soaks that in a little bit instead of just running it dry. So I keep that separate. So got the powder in there, which is 2F powder. I'm going to take my over the powder wad, stick it on there, and then run that ramrod, run it down. Then the next step is optional. If you feel necessary to have that cushion wad in there, the cushion wad buffers, takes a lot of the initial shock and kind of keeps the BBs from deforming if you're using soft-leaded BBs. For hunting situations, most of the time for rabbit and squirrel, I leave it out. For if I'm hunting birds, I'll probably go ahead and put it in there. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in. And all I'm going to do is shove it down in there. And then what I like to put on top of that one, just to keep it cushioned or separated from the shot itself, is an over-the-shot wad, which is the thinner card. Next is I'm going to load the shot up. Give my shot. Like I said, I go a little bit more. You can play around with it, find out what shoots the best, but just for small game and stuff like that, I'll just go with maybe one measurement more, which in this case would be an ounce shot. Number 6. You can try different stuff. Number 6 is my universal everything, so I don't have to worry about keeping a bunch of different size shot around. If you're going with waterfowl, you obviously have to have steel shot or something other than lead. Pour that in there, give that a little bit of seat. If you're using it for, say, coyotes or something like that, I use number 4 buckshot. And I like number 4 buckshot is because it's those bees are about the size of a 22. And I use that, and that works real good for coyotes. Especially here in Indiana, you're out in the woods and hill country. Most of the time if you're calling in coyotes, they're coming in on your lap anyways, you're not going to get a far shot. So shotguns work real well for coyotes in here. Next, don't need that yet, been talking about. Next thing after the shot is your over the shot card or wad. Like I said, it seems like a lot of steps for loading the shot. One of the things, that's why it says optional to put that fiber wad in there. Most of the time for squirrel and rabbits, like I said, I don't use it. Next thing is priming the pan so that you can use a regular 2F. I like to dribble just a little bit in the pan